So let's do the following. Let's add a text field to our UI, a text field that will contain the name of the customer, and let's change the ping service to send that customer to the service and set the customer name in the phone bill. So something real simple. I can do it for you. You can watch, or you guys can do it on your own. How do you want to play it? Do you want me to do it? Okay. So some people can pay attention to me, or if you want to do it on your own, you can. Okay. So let's see here. I got. I ran. Let's just start over again. Okay. I have my archetype. I'll run Maven GWT debug. Actually, debug doesn't make any sense, or doesn't help me because, well, I guess it does help me because I can attach on the server side. Like we saw last week, the client side is broken. Ooh. Okay, and so what I want to do, let's quick run it. Ping server, did it stop on the... Oh, I'm not attached with the debugger, am I? Lame. Okay, sorry. Oops. My computer's busy. Oh, it didn't. Failed. Why did you fail? Oh, interesting. I still think that Java process is running. Okay. Sorry, let's get the environment up and running. Kill-9. Okay, good. That blew up. Lots of things blew up, like I'd expect. Okay. So we'll run, let's run GWT run. Oh, because I saw those Maven ops set. Interesting. That's cool. Okay, let's just quick test our application. We'll reload it again. That'll recompile everything. Very slowly. We'll ping the server. We can talk to the server. Great. Okay, now let's go to the code. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to add a text field to the UI. And so we start there with, well, let's start where the program starts with the entry point, which I do not have that class up. So we'll go and find it. Oops. And that is in your phone bill GWT, sort of main class here. Here we create a button and add the click handler. Okay, that's super cool, but we also want to add a text field. So we'll have a text field, GWT. Come on, where are you? It is called text field, isn't it? Text area. How come I'm not seeing? There we go. I'm going to do text area, text field. I'm not seeing the name of it. Text area, text field.
Text box.
Text box. Thank you. Wow. And this will be, well, let's call it customer name. Text box. What does it have for parameters? Nothing. Okay. So customer name. Let's see here. We can set max length. Let's see, 10. Okay. And oops, we gotta move the declaration up here, as you'll see why in a moment. Oh, good. It reformatted everything, and now it looks different. Okay, and so we want to add the root the text field, and we want to add to the root panel the customer name. Okay, now we'll reload. That should recompile everything. Aha! Now there is a text field next to our button. Okay, we can use Layout Manager to make things look a little nicer, but we're not going to do that right now. Okay, and so now when we click the button, we want to, in addition, we also want to get the name of the customer. I'm going to call this customer name field. Customer name field. And so then we'll get the name of the customer name, and we'll get that from the customer name field. Oh, it made it final for me because it's being referenced from inside an inner class. And then we'll get the text from that, and then great, that gives us the customer name. And I'm going to actually, I'm just going to do a window.alert here just to show that we you typed your customer is named customer name. Okay, going to reload. And now when our customer is named Dave, we're going to ping the server. It says your customer is named Dave, and then it does the ping. That stunned silence, or it's like, give me more. Good, good so far. So what did I do? I added a new widget. Well, I created the widget. Sorry. Created the widget object, configured it a little bit by setting its max length to 10 characters. I added it to the root panel of the UI, so it got displayed. And now in the click handler of the button, I go and I got information from that text field. So here's a good example of how your code isn't linear anymore, right? So what happens, I create my text box here, I create my button, I add this click handler, and normally when you're reading the code from top to bottom, you'd expect that the code, that this code would be executed right after this code. Well, it's not. This is a callback. Actually, let me expand this in IntelliJ. Right, this onClick is a callback that is invoked when the button's clicked. So maybe maybe it would make more sense.
It's kind of like a conditional.
A conditional.
Well, like an if.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of like an if. So only one of the two branches of the if are going to be executed. So even though the code is there, it's not necessarily invoked. Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
If it's clicked.
Yeah. Actually, another way, maybe a way to make this a little easier to read, is if we put this into its own method. So the thing that creates the click handler, if we gave it a name, like, oops, what am I doing wrong there? That's what I'm doing. Oh, it's this one. So if I call that something like, let's see here, click handler, which is create new phone bill on server. Right? Oh, and you got to pass in the customer name field, which I don't like that. I'm going to turn that into a field of the class. Initialize and current method, yeah. And therefore, I don't need that anymore. No. Remove first parameter. I think everything's just going okay. Maybe that's a little easier to read. I'm not sure. I think it is. Okay. So it's like, oh, click handler. It's like create new phone bill on server. Okay, what does this do? Okay, now this is like a little bit more confusing. So now on the click, yep. So now there's a click handler, and so now when the click happens, okay, we'll go get that value from the field, and then we'll call the server. Okay, so let's reload just to make sure that refactoring, everything's okay. Ping server, yay! Your customer's name, Bob. Okay, and here's the stuff from the server. Okay, now next, actually, so let's commit that because we know that works. And so now, what did we do? We added a text box, text field for the name of the customer. So instead of okay, so now instead of just getting the customer name and popping up an alert, we're going to send it to the ping method on the server. So right, let's go to the server side first. So the way we do that is we dig into the ping method, and it says what are the implementations of it. IntelliJ is smart enough to know that's that's associated with the ping service interface. Now we can go find the implementation here, and then we want to take this customer name. And we're going to send the customer name to the phone bill. And so now, now we're going to create that constructor. And we're going to store it off in a field. Equals customer name. And then create a field here. It's going to be nice and final. And then instead of returning CS410J, this hard-coded value, we will return this .customer name. What doesn't like about phone bill? Oh, should provide public zero arguments constructor. Well, that's interesting. So this can't be final anymore. That's totally cool. Okay. Now, back here, okay, that guy compiles, but now it's complaining that, oh yeah, ping service implements either be declared abstract or implement the abstract ping method with zero arguments. Well, this is wrong. And isn't this nice? It's telling you, oh, the override annotation is wrong because it doesn't really override that ping method anymore. So I didn't do that, right? I should have said ping service up here, and then this takes a string customer name now. Now it's saying that asynchronous remote service blah does not define corresponding method. That is correct. So create variant with ping of string. Cool. So now, okay. So what I just did there was, remember the GWTRPC, where you've got this two interfaces and an implementation for having your client-side code that's run in the browser call methods on the server, right? When we talked about that, and so GWT has this nice abstraction over on top of all that communication that you had to do in Project 4, as far as taking your data, your phone call, and and serializing it into some text that you then sent over to the server and then consumed, right? That was kind of a pain. Well, here GWT takes care of all that for you, but you need to follow all the conventions. So, for instance, in order to add this customer name argument to the ping service implementation, I had to go and change the interface method to take a customer name, and I had to synchronize. I had to then update the async. Actually, oh, that was weird. Why did it say return to during phone bill? That's not right anymore. And then I had to update the synchronous, the async version. And remember, the async takes the same arguments as the service on the server side, but then also the async callback to which the results of the method will be returned, right? So async methods have a void return method because they don't return anything immediately. Instead, they return something later on after the server has processed it. So now we go back here, and we see that this ping no longer compiles because it says that, right? It says that I expected a string and then the async callback. And so, great, we'll just put customer name in here. And away we go. Well, let's put some overrides on here to make IntelliJ happy. Okay, now if I try to reload, and it compiled fine because the client code compiles fine, but now if I try to run it, it blows up saying the application is out of date because the server-side code no longer lines up with the client-side code because we haven't recompiled the server-side code. So this is now what you need to do is you need to restart development mode. Too bad there isn't a way.
Can you just restart the server?
Oh yeah, restart server. Yeah, do that. Okay. So I think that should be okay. That was fast. Reload this. Nope, and didn't like it. So maybe restarting didn't restart. Restarting probably doesn't recompile. Maybe? That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. Here we go. Now it's me's phone bill with one phone call. Okay. So now, let's commit that code. So now, we've changed lots of files. That's neat. So then added the customer's name to the ping service. So now we can send data from the UI to the server. So I think you can see where we go from here. Right, so I think those are the kinds of things that you'll need to do in your Project 5. So build out your UI by adding lots of neat widgets to it. And as you change it, if all you change is your UI code, you reload in your browser, everything recompiles, quick turnaround there. Add more functionality to the stuff on the server side, like doing the search, adding phone calls, all of that good stuff. And I think that is basically the mechanics of managing it this way. Adding some Java code on the client side, adding code on the server side, having to restart the server, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's it.
Where do you do the client-side validation?
Where you do the client side what?
Validation.
Well, I mean, if it's on the client side, oh, okay. So where do you do, just in general, the data validation? Well, I mean, you probably so ideally, and there was a good question about this on the community, right? It's like, well, for like even Project 4, it's like, where do I validate it? And I'm of the opinion that the right thing to do is validate in both places. Having it done just on the server, well, so you got to do it on the server because you can't trust your client, and so your client can be sending you all sorts of garbage and stuff, and so you got to make sure to sanitize it and return reasonable errors and stuff. So for like security, you need to do it on the server side. For usability, you should probably do it on the client side, but then you've got to implement it in both places, and sometimes the validation either can't be done with the information on the client or it's very expensive to do on the client. So it's kind of a wishy-washy answer. I recommend for this project that you do a reasonable amount of validation on the client side. So for instance, your date validation, right? Making sure, so let's say, maybe you're using a calendar widget. No, but you're entering your time also. So I mean, if you're entering as a text field, I'm gonna when I test it, I'm gonna enter in some garbage stuff and then try to create a phone call from it, and I would expect something to pop up, or something to turn red, or I don't know, whatever. So yes, I think there's some amount that's reasonable to do on the client side. I think someplace that's a gray area is something like validating that your customer matches the customer in the phone bill, for instance. There, I think you could say you're not going to get that feedback until you click add call, and so then maybe that's something that's done on the server side, and then you propagate that back. I guess one more thing that I want to add here, just to show it to you, is what happens. So let's say. Speaking of data validation, so that's a really good question because we didn't do any data validation here. So I could do something like the following. Okay, customer name. So if customer name is null, or it's the empty string, then, well, we could do an alert, I guess. Customer name field, can I set background? Can I set, well, what can I set on that? That would be interesting. Highlight name, size, style. I was hoping I could set something like just turn it red real easily, but we have to set a style. That's beyond what I want to go into right now. Bummer. Okay, well, so you could do a window.alert or something like that to validate it on the client side. What's probably a little bit more interesting is validating on the server side. So let's say here we want to do the following: if customer name equals null, or it's the empty string. Throw new. Oh, let's just try illegal argument exception. Customer name cannot be blank. So let's restart this and see what happens. In the server. Aha, okay. Oh, server log for details. Well, that's not very useful. No, I'm pretty sure this is, internal server error. Server log for details. So do I get anything here in the okay? Huh, interesting. It spits all this out. Yeah, but what was that? I did throw an exception on the server side, and it said threw an unexpected exception. Oh, I wonder if I need to do the following. Let's do this. Throw new invalid customer name exception. Create class here. I want it in the client package because I think I'd love to add to get. Thank you. Message super dot. Oh, what is it complaining about? Super dot message. Maybe I can't do this. Can I have custom exceptions? Oh, public malware constructor. Sure. Okay. So this is a checked exception, so I have to add the exception method ping is inherited. Do I want to add the? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So it adds it there, and it adds it there. Okay, so now, I wonder if it's declared exception, is GWT going to treat it differently than that unexpected exception? Oh, unreported exception. Oh, yeah, I never catch it. Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, so here, sorry guys. From GWT, it is saying, hey, you never catch that. So I will just make it easier to handle. I'll surround it with a cry catch. Okay. Oh, wait, that's not what I wanted. Add. Oh, I see. It's an in. Oh, gross. Sorry, this code is getting really hard for me to read. So I'm going to put that into a method. Sure. And I will call it display phone bill. There you go. And now surround it with a try catch. Okay. So here, and then we'll do a window.alert e.getMessage. So let's see what happens here. So here, okay, so you see what I've done? I've now had my service, it'll throw an explicit type of exception here as a checked exception. And so GWT, it's Java, right? It says, oh, okay, yep, this API might throw this exception. So let's start this up again, see if it's happier this time. Okay. Got all that. Let's reload it, see if it compiles and everything. Okay, that's certainly happy. So that worked, but now if I delete it out. Nice! This gives me an exception. Yeah, and it's like this is the message. Neat. So that's another way to sort of, if there's validation errors on the server, you want to, that's part of your API, right? So now if I had if I had changed that to an unchecked exception. Okay, so now I'm just curious. Let me quick check this in. So validate the customer name and throw a checked exception. Commit. Now, let's see here. Let's change this to throw an unchecked exception. I think the easiest way for me to do that is to make this guy, instead of extending throwable, make him extended runtime exception. And therefore, in my phone bill GWT, I no longer need to catch it. Oh, what doesn't it like? Display phone bill. Oh, because, yes, you're being dumb. Oh, wait, no, that was right. Okay, so let's see what happens now that it's an unchecked exception. Let's see. Really? That's interesting. So, I mean, it seemed to do the same thing. So do you think, well, there was this guy. Oh, interesting. So I'm going to add some code here. Now, this is client-side code, so I should just be able to reload to get that change. Aha, so that's on failure. Now I'm going to restore this code up here. So maybe it didn't catch it like I thought. Let's see here. In catch. Oh, isn't that interesting? So when it's a checked exception, the Java compiler says, oh, you've got to catch this thing up here. And so you'd think that the exception would be delivered to the catch block up here. But in fact, it appears that it's delivered to the on failure. Let's make it a checked exception again. Let's revert that. And then start over again here. This will be the last thing because I'm ready to go home. Let's see here. Will this recompile everything like I think it will? What did it change? I don't know what it recompiled. So I don't know if I trust it. I'm going to do it clean. My concern is that since I reverted it, would it get the timestamps right, and then would it really recompile everything like I thought it would? That was nice and fast. Okay. Whoops. Now, did I... When in doubt, do a Maven package. Yeah, after you clean, you need to run the package. Yeah, I don't quite understand why. There we go. Seems a little happier now. Mysteries of GWT revealed. Okay, so now when I ping it with empty, on failure. Okay, so the lesson I would take away from this is that you don't want your GWT services to throw checked exceptions. That you want them to be unchecked. So I'm going to, well, it's okay. So you can still have it there for documentation, I guess, but it's not going to be delivered to the place that you expect. So, so I think the way I would do this is I would want this to be a runtime exception. That's what I want. And then quit out of this, and then run it again. So you want to be a runtime exception so that your client code doesn't need to, because your client code shouldn't catch it. It's misleading, right? To have this try catch block here, because it doesn't do what you think it does. Instead, it'll be delivered to the on failure, which, okay, that's reasonable, right? I think that's what you want for an asynchronous callback. So now it's an unchecked exception. But it was interesting. Okay, wait a second. So what will happen here? Yeah, now you get the 500. Okay, so debit. Okay, here's what you need to do then. So this gives you like, oh, there was something bad on the server side because sure enough, there was this uncaught exception here. Okay, so take 3. In order to get it to work the way that I would expect, you want to use an unchecked exception. You want to use a runtime exception. But here, you've then got to, let's undo that. You want that. That's the impl. You want to declare it here. So you basically got to tell the GWT compiler. I'm sorry. You got to tell the GWT compiler. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, these are the exceptions that it throws. And then only then will the GWT compiler send it to the on failure method as opposed to just having it barf up on the server side. So let's see here. I probably need to restart. Oh, let's see what happens when I don't. I did make some changes to the server side, but will that make a difference? On failure status code exception, I got to restart it. So we don't want to see that status code exception. We want to see just a plain old, this was the exception that was thrown. We want to see that invalid customer name exception. Yay! Okay. And it's funny that, sorry, what?
Simulate the potential ones then if you have it in your on-failure method, just check the type of exception it's not, and then
What a great idea. Yes, totally. So let's do that. You're never going to get out of here. Okay, so let's check this stuff in because I like it. And of course, you're free to leave at any time if anyone's got a bust a catch or whatever. But okay, declare. Okay, have the service interface declare that it throws an unchecked exception so that GWT will deliver the exception to the on failure method at runtime. Okay, right. And so then right now the behavior is a little lame because what we're doing is we're just printing out the that. So if we say EX instance of invalid customer name exception, well, let's see here. Window, yeah, whatever. Window.alert, please enter a valid customer name. Otherwise, else do that. Client-side code only. Ba-ding! Let's just make sure that it still works. Oops. Yay! Nice. So, better error message when an invalid customer name exception is thrown. Excellent question. I'm really glad that you brought that up because we learned something tonight. Are you excited about working with GWT? I'm excited for you. I have to do the assignment, so I suppose I can be. Okay, excellent. Anything else for tonight? So this is all up on my GitHub. If you sort of want to, play it back, I'll put it up on YouTube in the next couple of days. Okay. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see more GWT next week.